Nutrient down the tube. The platform at King's Cross. The platform at King's Cross smelled of hot rail and damp wool, the way it always did in November. The arrivals bored overhead. A pigeon strutted near the yellow line as if it owned the central. Protein stood near the edge with the rigid composure of someone who simply never had time to slouch. He was tall, angular, with a messenger bag stuffed into bursting. He wore a running vest under his sensible fleece and had a jawline of a man who never skipped breakfast, because he was breakfast. His trainers were immaculate. His watch was set 2 minutes fast. Fat was already there, had been there for some time, wrapped in a long amber coat with deep pockets, reading a battered Penguin paperback. Her presence had a quality to it, rich, dense, satisfying, like proper buttered toast. Protein checked his watch, the fast one, and scanned the board. The next Jubilee Line train was due in 3 minutes. They were headed south, Borough Market, a client meeting, a sensible lunch. They were supposed to be the three of them. He's late. That without looking up from her book. He's always late. That's not an excuse. That's a pattern. Patterns can be corrected. Can they? With sufficient discipline, yes. I've been on time every day for 11 years. Not approximately on time, to the minute. Your watch is set 2 minutes fast. That's a system. That turned a page. A train on the opposite platform exhaled and pulled away. Protein glanced at his phone. No messages. Then at the board. Then at the far end of the platform. Then at his watch again. Punctuality is a form of respect. And when you're late, you're spending someone else's time without their permission. It's essentially theft. It's quite a strong position. I've had 11 years to develop it. I've never been late in my life. I simply arrive when things are ready for me. She folded a corner of her page. There's a difference. That sounds like a verbose defense of being late. Sounds like that because you've only got 2 modes. Early and irritated. Protein opened his mouth. Close it. Looked at the board. Mind the gap. Jubilee Lane, southbound. Next train in 3 minutes. Mind the gap. We board at the second carriage. I've timed it. It lines up exactly with the exit at London Bridge. And if he's not here in 3 minutes? Protein said nothing. He straightened his messenger bag. He was already walking towards the second carriage. The wrong train. The carriage was pleasantly warm. That was the first thing he noticed. The second thing was that they were heading north. He had spotted the open doors and simply gone. The way glucose moves, the way bread rises, guided by momentum and the vague sense that things generally work out. He had a window seat, which was excellent, and a man across from him was eating a Scotch egg, which was oddly companionable. It took him until Highbury and Islington to check the line diagram above the doors. To no one particular. He was on Victoria Line. He was going to Walthamstow. He had been going to Walthamstow for the past 4 stops, with increasing commitment. He patted his pockets. He found 1 tube of wine gums, a loyalty card for a bakery in Southwark that no longer existed, and his Oyster card, which had £1.40 on it, not enough to get back. He found his phone, which had 11% battery. He found the remainder of a Chelsea bun, slightly compressed. He took out the wine gums and offered one to the man with the Scotch egg, who accepted without comment. I'm on the wrong train. Happens. My friends will be cross. Get off at the next stop and go back. I only got 140 on my Oyster. There was a long pause. The man with the Scotch egg looked at his Scotch egg. Then the stranger with wine gums looked at his wine gums. The train hummed northward through the dark. On the bright side, he said, I've heard Walthamstow has a lovely market. He pulled out his phone. 7% now. He typed, small delay, don't wait. Actually, maybe wait. On a train, north train, very much alive. Then he pocketed before the reply came. In the time-honored tradition of those who create problems they're not quite ready to solve. He ate another wine gum, red, which was the best one, and watched North London steam past the window with uncomplicated delight. Ulrich the conductor. Ulrich had been driving at Victoria Line for 11 years. She had driven through power failures and signal failures, and once, rememberably, a man that brought a full-size oil painting onto the Central and wedged it in the doors of Oxford Circus. She'd seen everything, or nearly. She had not previously driven a man who was quite so exuberantly present as the one now visible in her rear camera. Third carriage from the back, window seat, consuming wine gums with concentrated joy of someone who had recently survived something. He had that look of someone accustomed to providing energy. Ulrich recognized the type. She was, of course, a carrier. Her cargo was the long burn, the kind of fuel that kept things going when the quick stuff had already been spent. She respected that in a person. She had less patience for the quick stuff that didn't know where it was going. She pulled the train into Fitzbury Park. Mind the gap. Victoria Line, northbound. Finsbury Park. Doors opening on the left. Mind the gap. Over the intercom, she said, in her usual tone. Steady, unhurried, carrying that particular warmth of voice that was announced 10,000 stops without ever quite becoming mechanical. This is Finsbury Park. Change here for the Piccadilly Line and the National Rail Services. Please allow passengers to alight before boarding. And if you're on the train by accident, a pause barely perceptible. Highbury and Islington was your best bet, just so you know. She didn't look at the particular carriage when she said it. In the third carriage, from the back, a man with wine gums sat up slightly straighter. Ulrich closed the doors. The train moved on. She had 12 more stations before the terminus. She had seen everything, or nearly, and she drove on through the dark with the deep, unhurried confidence of someone who had long since stopped needing to rush, because her value was not in the burst, but in the burn. She'd not eaten a Chelsea bun in 15 years. She didn't miss it. Back at the platform. The platform at King's Cross smelled of hot rail and damp wool. The rivals board flickering overhead. The same pigeon, or its philosophical twin, paroled near the yellow line. Protein was standing near the edge. His posture had not changed, but his jaw had tightened in a way that tightened when he was applying strength to what would otherwise be a strongly worded observation. He had already missed the client meeting. He had eaten a boiled egg from his bag because that was the kind of man he was. Fat was on the bench. She had finished her penguin paperback and started another. She had brought a tea from the kiosk upstairs, which she was drinking with quite pleasure of someone who had the patience and not a virtue, but simply a fact of nature. They had been waiting 47 minutes. He's very much alive, which I frankly insufficient as a status update. He also mentioned a market. He's always been mentioning markets. The board updated. A Jubilee Line southbound in 4 minutes. And then, from the far end of the platform, trailing a scarf that had come entirely unwound, carrying what appeared to be a paper bag from the Walthamstow bakery, Carb arrived. He was slightly out of breath and completely undimmed. I got you things. He held out the bag. There's a Kugelmann in there and some woman called a cheese pool. I don't entirely know what it is, but she said it was very good, and I believed her completely. Protein looked at the bag. He looked at Carb. He looked at his watch, the fast one, and performed several rapid internal calculations. We missed the client meeting. I know, I'm sorry, I went a bit north. Fat, accepting a pastry from the bag. How far north? Walthamstow. That's a bit north. That's the end of the line. The conductor told me to get off at Highbury. She was very calm about it. I think she knew. He paused. I got her a roll. Well, I tried. She was in the cab. Fat ate the corner of her pastry. It was excellent. She said nothing, which is its own kind of endorsement. Mind the gap. Jubilee Line, southbound. Stand clear of closing doors. Mind the gap. The train arrived. They boarded. Protein first, checking the carriage alignment. Fat second, with her tea in her paper bag. Carb last, tucking the bakery bag under his arm and stepping across the threshold with a blameless enthusiasm of someone whose mistake was always, somehow, delicious. The doors closed. The train moved south. Above the doors, the line diagram ticked off the stations ahead. They were, all three of them, exactly where they're supposed to be. Late, nourished, together, heading in the right direction, at last.